My name is Lance Conrad, and I'm an author. I write books for a living. I went from crawling to sprinting. Now I could run through not just one world, but many. Live not just one life, but hundreds.
He wants to marry her. He'll have to come to Tetron.
And how about a nice spoiled cousin who bullies him all the time, right? What if these two characters fell in love? What if these two characters fought to the death? Show me him standing up against an entire army single-handed. And drove most of the race before hopping out to run the last one. That's a little bit different. True story, by the way. Somebody went on a trip or somebody came into town. There's your plots. They took that big old forehead and just crashed every brick, board, and brother in the house. Let me tell you a story.
Hi, everybody. Lance Conrad here, and I'm here with someone who is probably Cody from Cody's Lab. Now, what we did want to address last time, there were a couple comments that were asking about why we weren't masked. And I realized that we actually missed an opportunity there to explain sort of the good example. We dealt with it. I am completely vaccinated, and Cody actually quarantined for, I think, a month before the shoot. So, yeah, Cody is a man of science. I am a man of history. We are both incredibly respectful of the pandemic. Neither of us are likely to take that lightly. So, yes, all precautions have been taken for COVID. And Cody, it's good to have you back, man.
Hey, good to be back.
So, what can you tell us about that glorious contraption you've created there?
So that was my mock spacesuit that I was making for my Chicken Hole Base series. It was originally a sandblasting helmet, which I've modified a little bit just to give me fresh air that's clean. It's great for the COVID times because it's like a mask that is perfectly sealed, but it is made for working in the dust. So if I'm shoveling and working like underground, I'm not breathing in the silica. That is its ultimate purpose, but it does work for whatever.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, we did have one comment in the chat suggesting that I was Cody's robot, but I would like to remind everyone, Robo Cody actually needs no air and therefore would not need any sort of special suit for extravehicular activity. All right. Just want to make that clear. So, what have you been up to? What sort of projects? I know everybody watching right now probably wants to know, what are you working on right now? Like within the last week, what you been working on?
So I've been out in Nevada trying to get another episode of Chicken Hole Base done. I think this next one's going to be pretty good. Unfortunately, I have another tank that I wanted to get for the rear part of the small greenhouse. So, but that I've been having some trouble getting that shipped to me, so that's probably not going to happen in this next episode. But episode after this, the greenhouse should be totally finished, and I'm excited for that.
Nice, nice. How big is Chicken Hole Base going to get?
Like in land area, or?
Either way, I'm just curious, like, right, because you have the spacesuit. Are you going all the way to a completely contained thing where you would literally put on the suit, exit an airlock,
Yes.
to go just
as
full on Mars experience?
As close to that as I can get.
Nice.
At the very least, it should make an awesome fallout shelter.
All right. Prepared for Mars and also prepared if things on Earth go very, very badly.
Exactly.
Awesome. So what else? I understand the other day you were talking about some meteorites.
Right, that's my next big project, is I'm processing meteorite, trying to figure out a process to actually get the precious metals out of the asteroid material.
Okay, now, I gotta admit, I already get a bit of nerd joy just from the very idea of asteroid mining. So essentially, you're trying to create here the same processes they would use up in space?
This first video is probably not going to be the same process. I'm just showing that there's precious metal there, but eventually I want to have a completely sealed system that if it was on an asteroid, it would work.
Now, a follow-up question. Where do you get meteorites? That is not something you can just...
Well, they fall from the sky, someone picks it up and then sells it on eBay.
Okay. I can't imagine those are cheap. And are there people, like, how do you know that it's really a meteorite and not some guy, like, passing off some half-melted piece of lava rock?
Well, meteorites are pretty hard to fake on the elemental level, so a quick test with an X-ray is pretty sufficient. X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. Look for high amounts of chrome, nickel, cobalt, things that you don't see a lot in the Earth's crust. And some of the minor elements for even slag, it'd be hard to recreate in the structure.
Why? I'm curious. Why? Because I always think of Earth being formed by all the raw material that was around. Why isn't there kind of the same makeup?
Because gravity, when the Earth was completely melted, pulled the heavy materials to the core, and the lighter stuff floated to the top.
Gotcha. So we're just floating on the light stuff.
Your heavy, metallic iron and sulfide minerals all sank to the core, and the lighter silicates floated to the top, and the iron took the gold and the platinum and the iridium with it. Those are siderophile. They're iron-loving elements, so they follow the iron.
Gotcha. Now, have you ever found any meteorites yourself? I'm assuming you've gone out looking for them.
I found a couple. One of them I found on camera. I have a video on that. The idea is to go and look out on the salt flats where it's nice and smooth and there's not very many rocks. The thing is, I've never found a rock actually out on the salt flats. They've always been like up higher on the benches. And I've realized it's because the meteorites decay very rapidly here on the Earth, especially in the salty conditions. So there might have been a fireball 5,000 years ago that put a bunch of rocks down over the salt flats, but most of those would have decayed by now. And you only find the ones that are up on the bench.
Or been picked up by other meteorite hunters, I would imagine.
I don't know of anyone else who have found one out there. I think.
Oh, really?
But I don't know everyone.
Fair enough. All right. Well, this is Tell Me a Story.
Right.
And the whole point of this show is to kind of get your story. So now that we've talked about what you're up to now, I kind of want to dial it all the way back.
Okay.
to little Cody. Right? How did this all get started? I'm thinking last week when we were talking about dirigibles, you talked about creating a space blanket balloon that you designed to go up nearly 9 miles and was later eaten by your grandmother's goat. I still love that story, by the way. That is one of my new favorite stories. But you were only between 10 and 13? We didn't say exactly for legal reasons, but just how young were you making stuff? Or where did your interest in science begin?
I mean, I've been making little concoctions for as long as I can remember, but I am just old enough to remember the comet Hale-Bopp, and that's one of my first memories. Is we went with my grandma and my cousin out into the desert to look at the comet, and that was one of my first. I got to see that comet, and she told me about how it's a dirty block of ice and rock out in deep space, and then that's so cool. What about that thing over there? And looking at the Pleiades and the other planets.
Nice.
I think that's what really got me started.
So you probably started with the whole astronomy type thing. Mm-hmm. Now, moving forward a little bit, what about, as I picture someone making that space blanket balloon, how did you even have the materials for that? I imagine, there might even be kids watching this who are that same age who couldn't even get their hands on a space blanket, much less enough helium or hydrogen to actually do this? Well, yeah, how did you even have the situation to make this stuff?
Just my parents bought me the space blankets, and I scrounged an old propane tank to make the hydrogen. you know, researching. I got books from the library.
Nice.
This is like pre-internet. Well, I guess there was internet in like 97, but
yeah, something like that. Excellent. Now, at that point, right? So we're talking little Cody. What did you want to be when you grew up? Because you couldn't have said YouTuber, because YouTuber didn't exist at that time. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
I guess it would depend on when you asked me. Like if you got me like kindergarten, first grade, I'm like, oh, I'll be a construction worker. If you got me post-comment, I'd say astronaut. So that's probably been the longest one.
Say, is that one still going? Is it still the dream to be an astronaut?
Well, yeah, I want to be an asteroid mining tycoon.
Asteroid mining tycoon. I love it so much.
Really, I don't have to go to space. I could control the robots, you know. Yeah.
I guess that's a valid point. Yeah. Do you want to go to space, or do you just want to expand beyond the planet?
Obviously, I'd love to go into space, but it would be a lot cheaper and easier to send a robot.
That is...
Maybe I could go and babysit the robots. You know, get around the light lag issues.
Nice. What do you mean by light lag? Just the sorry, you go ahead and explain.
So, the Earth-crossing asteroids, they might come within a few thousand, tens of thousands of miles of the Earth, like Apophis in 2029 is going to come within the orbit of many of our satellites, but most of the time they're like on the other side of the sun or way out in the asteroid belt, so it takes time for a signal to get out there and back. It's like half an hour at least.
Yeah, what would be an efficient way of getting them closer to Earth without, accidentally destroying all life on Earth?
Well, you could wrangle some that are small enough they wouldn't actually destroy all life, but actually, I'd imagine if you were actually moving them around, like putting them into orbit around the moon or whatever, they're probably going to be pretty small in terms of how the rocks go. You'd probably most often mine them on site.
So mine them in the asteroid field or at the asteroid, and then just ship back the materials you were looking for?
Yeah, the concentrates, the high-value materials.
Now, I've heard some people say that a lot of the mining wouldn't actually even be about sending the materials back to Earth. It would be about essentially building, fueling, and governing spaceships.
Initially, yes. Because water is extremely valuable out in space and not so much here on the ground.
It's so bizarre to think about that, because here we have lots of water. We can even make more if we want. But yeah, out there in space, water is fuel, essentially, isn't it?
Can you guys hear me now? I've seen a lot of comments about my mic.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody said it's better.
There we go.
But yeah, like carbonaceous chondrites, the most common type of asteroid, they're several % water by weight, so awesome.
Awesome.
Fueling typos. Right.
Okay, so little Cody wanted to be an astronaut, still does, or asteroid mining tycoon. So the dream has only grown. Let's move forward just a little bit. What did your middle school, high school experience look like?
Actually did fairly well. Got pretty good grades.
This is not my surprise face that Cody got good grades in high school.
My grades dropped off considerably in college, but I was president of the science club for quite a while.
This also is just so incredibly on brand.
One Sterling Scholar in science.
Nice. School or regional?
Just school. The girl who won regions went to Africa and drilled wells for people, and it's like, how am I going to compete with that?
Well, that goody two shoes. I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's a wonderful person.
I got to meet her. She's okay.
Excellent. Now, I imagine around your high school age, were you getting into video by then?
The end of high school, like my last year, is when I finally got into YouTube. YouTube had been around for a while before that. I actually had a YouTube channel early on, like around 2007, 2008 is when I started that. I've since forgot the password, and it's no longer... can't get into it, so that's no longer there.
Oh,
but the channel I have now, I started in 2011.
So you can't remember the password, so you can't access it, but it still exists. There is a hidden, forgotten Cody's channel out there.
Yes, there's no content. There's a few videos, but they're all like unlisted. Actually, somebody found one of the videos. It was not on that channel, but somebody had re-uploaded it. One of my videos I did for my Spanish class.
Oh, bueno, muy bueno.
No bueno.
No bueno?
It's very, very bad.
Say that was kind of my next question. Do you remember your first video, and does it still exist somewhere?
The first video that I did for the channel that I currently have was when I entered the talent show. I did a juggling routine, and
Please tell me you still juggle.
I can juggle, yeah. It's one of those things like riding a bike. You don't forget once you learn.
Oh,
Apparently,
I
it
love
adds brain matter if you learn to juggle, and it doesn't go away easily.
See, I think that should be bucket list, is be the first person to juggle on Mars. Just no one could ever take that away from you.
You'd have to like move slower because of low gravity. But yeah, that video actually got flagged for copyright, and I got scared and I took it down. So it's not actually the first video on the channel. I re-uploaded it later, but it's still up there. But
So it still exists.
it still exists. It just got re-uploaded.
Now, that was your first one for that channel. Do you remember, like, your first ever? Was that like Spanish class video, or was there one even before that?
There's something I did for computer class. I think I was like working on my bees from when I was like 12, and I did a bunch of like video edits because we were learning video editing. And I don't know if that video still exists. It might be on my parents' computer or something.
Fair enough. Now, I have to ask, did you ever think that you were going to be famous?
No, I mean, I was just sharing the juggling video. I just shared it to my grandma so she could see it, because she lives 60 miles away and couldn't come to the actual event.
That is just so almost aggressively sweet, Cody. His first video was making a juggling video for his grandma. That is... You're a treasure, Cody.
Like, I
that's all
uploaded,
I can say.
Little videos of experiments I did. Like, hardly any of the experiments I did at the time actually made it on YouTube. I just, whatever I filmed. And over time, it started building up an audience. And actually, I finally started to take off when I did a beekeeping series. Like, I was the school beekeeper when I was in freshman and sophomore year of college. And
your school had a school beekeeper?
Yeah.
You had a very different high school experience than I did.
I was actually in college, but...
oh, okay. All right.
So...
Nope, still different.
So, I was running the beehives, and I knew I was going to switch schools. So, and somebody was going to take over the hives, and I wanted to, train them, so
you didn't mess up your bees.
So I filmed everything I did for a whole year with bees and made them watch it, and apparently several thousand other people watched it, and that's when the snowball started to happen and my channel took off.
So it wasn't even necessarily, I mean, yes, that's science, but it wasn't like crazy experiments or big builds. It was just beekeeping.
I mean, I had experiments interspaced with it. The beekeeping series was just the one that I regularly uploaded for a long period of time.
Nice. Now, so that's kind of where that got started or took off. Yeah, a lot of people, I think, being nostalgic about the beekeeping videos. In fact, I think
redo a lot of it, but I haven't gotten to it.
I'll bet is. Sorry, this is getting off track a little bit, but I don't really care. It's my show. What would be like one of your greatest regret videos? Like it was popular, people loved it, so you don't want to take it down, but you're just like, do you have one like that? Because I have things like that.
I have several.
Several.
A lot of them I've taken down. Chewing on dry ice is one of those that, like, you can get away with it, but that's so stupid. I wish I would never posted that. But
Is it still up?
I don't. It might be. I might have made it public because it was just people saw it already. Cat's out of the bag.
Okay, everybody, that video is still up there. Don't watch it. Okay, there you go, Cody. I took care of it.
I think my biggest regret is like using my real name.
Yeah.
Like I can't get away with things because the authorities know who I am.
Well, I don't know how deep we want to get into that, since the authorities would still know. Now, would you ever go differently? Like, would you ever try to?
If I could do it all again, I would pick a better channel name. I would never show my face. I'd probably disguise my voice and not use my real name.
Okay. All right. So not only never thought you were going to be famous, sounds like you regret the fame in general.
A little bit, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'll share with you a little trick that I did. Is I have this hat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I always wear this hat. Okay. Anybody watching at home, my wife excluded. Hi, darling.
Had to notice that.
They've always seen me with this hat. They don't recognize me if I take it off.
So you can go into Walmart and you don't get recognized.
Yep.
Smart.
I've walked like 6 feet by kids who saw me speak at their school last week. I mostly do like school presentations. Yeah, they don't recognize me. Yeah, build a very, very consistent brand, and then if you change it, you're invisible.
I was kind of trying to do that with the chainmail and stuff, but it started to cause me health problems. And like you think, oh, the weight, it's like smashing your spine. Or no, it's actually the copper. It is toxic. It was messing with my eyes and stuff.
Oh no! So I was not aware of that little update. I knew that you'd made the whole copper chainmail, and it was a very distinctive Cody's Lab look. You're saying it was poisoning you?
It was, yes.
Okay, well, I feel like I would have lots of opportunities to say this, but Cody, glad you didn't die.
I'd like to make another one, but use steel, maybe even stainless steel, something that doesn't rub off and have toxic particles.
Yes.
Like, occasionally touching copper is fine, but wearing it all the time was just too much.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put that on the list. Non-toxic clothing. Check. Good idea. Well, we'll make sure we revisit that one. Anyways. Let's go back. We were kind of following forward. We had science team captain Cody starting to make videos, juggling videos, Spanish videos. I love all of it. But obviously you didn't jump into that right away, right? It wasn't your immediate vocation. So what other things did you do for a living, or what other skills were you building at that time?
So I was into welding quite a bit, like ag mechanics, the class in high school. I was always in the shop, welding and cutting metal. There's several projects I've shown on YouTube that I made in that shop class.
So, how far did that go? How good did you get at welding?
I got a job at Rocky Mountain Railcar Repair, which I'm not sure if that company still exists, but just welding patches on the side of rail cars. So I welded a lot. Like, I actually got to the point where they were having me weld cast iron pieces that were on the dump gates underneath using the nickel rod.
Isn't cast iron a little bit problematic to weld?
I got pretty good at welding cast.
Wow.
The stick welder with the nickel rod.
Okay.
I also, a little bit later, I went and actually was basically the guy who changed all the tires, like, for a while. Like,
I'll admit I never really thought about changing tires on a rail car.
Yeah, like one of the forklifts runs over a rail at the wrong angle, pops the tire. Like, well, I gotta have somebody go change it. So, I've got my big breaker bar that weighs as much as me, and I'm like, breaking the lugs on the big forklifts. And I got to the point where I had some markings on the bar where I knew where I could stand, and I knew my weight, so I could torque them just the right amount, just foot pounds.
I was gonna say I have to ask, did you do the math?
Oh yeah,
measure the bar and everything.
Of course.
Nice. Always the scientist is Cody.
And at one point they were moving a bunch of dirt from one side of the property to the other to make it flat, and they had a big haul pack that they had purchased for this. Is the T-Rex, we called it, and they actually had me drive it, and they'd have the guy loading it with the track hoe loading the haul pack, and then I'd drive it and then dump it on the other side of the property and drive back. And so I was driving I think it's like 80 tons.
Oh, dang. Oh, man.
I got to the point where I drove a lot of different crazy things.
What's the craziest thing? Would that be the craziest thing that you've driven? I mean, I drove a dump truck once, which most people wouldn't consider to be that big. I felt like I was driving a mountain. Like I could just sense the ridiculous mass. Apparently,
after I left, the guy who took over from me, the first week, drove over the back of a pickup. Like the tires just went right over the back of a pickup.
Oh no!
He said he just thought he ran over a pile of dirt.
He just... Holy smokes. I'm assuming... Was the pickup okay, Cody?
No. That's actually a pickup that I drove. They had a bunch of trees that they had planted, and they needed somebody to water the trees, so we had a tank of water in the back. And I would back up to the trees, and I had the hose that I'd stick out So I had one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on the hose, and I'd water the tree, then back up, water the next tree. And actually, they were keeping track of the fuel because they were having a problem with people stealing fuel, and they wanted to know how much fuel you're using and how much mileage you're putting on the vehicle, so they could track it all down. That pickup had negative mileage when I went to report it because I was going backwards so much.
That is awesome. You broke their math. All right, looks like some people were actually curious about where you got your welding experience. Now, once again, you got started in welding back in high school, right?
High school, yeah.
Did you do anything any competitions or anything like that? I know in my school we had some FFA type stuff.
Yeah, the FFA judging competition. I actually won nationals for the welding portion of the judging contests.
So
actually,
we skip all that.
Okay. Yeah. So
just now. Oh yeah. I guess I won nationals. I kind of forgot about it.
It's crazy. I think I won just because I followed the rubric. They give us a weird type of rod and a welder that very few of us had ever even seen. And we had to weld a piece of pipe, 2 pieces of pipe, a pipe nipple, and that thing needed to hold pressure to like 2,000 psi. And I got the first beads done. They looked pretty good, but I chipped them off, and I could see they had a whole bunch of little porosity, the holes in it. I'm like, this is not going to hold. So I cranked up the welder. I went over. I weaved the bead. I went over it a couple of times. And the reason I did that is the rubric, they had it sitting there next to us so we could look at it. The weld looking nice was worth 3 points. Holding against the pressure test was worth 9. So I'm like, I'm going for it's going to hold.
Which makes perfect sense to me, right? I would a lot rather have an effective weld than a pretty weld.
And mine was the only one that held.
Yours was the only one that held.
Yep.
All right. Codydon, National Welding Champion. Cody of the Ugly Weld. I love it. I love it so much. All right. So that kind of brings us up. Anything else from, high school days? All just science, welding, and juggling Spanish things?
Yeah, pretty standard. So we live outside of town. I think we'll come to this later, my parents' ranch. And I was taking multiple AP classes, but the one school didn't have all of the ones I wanted. So I ended up going to 3 different high schools. I drove 80 miles a day. And the best thing is, I was actually making money doing it. I had a little car that got like 50 miles to the gallon, and the school district was paying me because they couldn't bus me around. They were supposed to bus me. They couldn't do that, so they compensated me for my mileage. I was like 40 cents a mile, and I was actually making money driving to school. I dropped my sister off at the first school, drive to the second, take a class there, drive over to the Twilla High, take a class there, and then drive back.
Oh, man. Cody, but we need to talk about words. Because when you just shrugged and was like, yeah, it was pretty standard, and then brought up that you drove 80 miles a day going to 3 different high schools, that's not actually standard, Cody. Most people are not having that experience. So you...
You sure?
Pretty sure. I feel confident in making that assertion. See, I thought my high school experience, I wouldn't have called it standard because we lived about half an hour outside of town, up in the mountains. And so it was always going down all these winding roads that were never well plowed during the winter. And so it was always just ice capades, and all that sort of stuff. And we also went down to that one for AP classes, but the district didn't care about us. We got paid nothing. Anyways, so what were some of the AP classes you were going around to all these different schools to take?
AP chemistry, calculus, physics, biology.
Nice.
AP English. I took that one. Didn't take the test, but the other ones I took the test.
Did you pass?
Yeah, I passed. I got 3s and 4s.
Nice.
Which is upsetting because the college I ended up going to was like, 5 or nothing.
What?
Yeah.
Say 3 or above is passing. For those at home who may not understand what the AP test is or AP courses, AP stands for Advanced Placement. And generally speaking, it's done in high school. But the general idea is that if it's graded from 1 to 5, and if you get 3 or more, you pass. And most colleges in America will accept that as college credit or a replacement for certain college courses. And so, for his college to not accept 4s or 3s for college credit is just stupid. Would you agree with that assessment?
I did end up testing out of the first chemistry semester, and the second Chem 2. I should have got out of that one too, but what I ended up doing is I would come to class on the test days, roll in 10 minutes late, finish 15 minutes early and get the high score in the class.
So,
Like, I'd almost never go to that class because I'm like, I've got chemistry pretty good.
that makes complete sense to me. All right. Let's take a moment. And there was a question in the chat here that I actually really, really liked. It was from Tom Lynch. And he was asking about your method, right? So we move up
Was it method or method?
through high school. Well, there was one earlier about your methane digester, which I'll admit I'm incredibly curious about myself. But can you take us through your method of how you come up with a video idea and how you go about implementing it? Like, what does that actually look like behind the scenes? I know you almost always work alone.
Right.
And so, yeah, what does that look like?
Having 50 tabs open on my browser, checking things and research. A lot of Wikipedia. I think I've got more hours in Wikipedia than I have in school. Like, I learned from Wikipedia. I've edited a lot of Wikipedia.
You've edited a lot of Wikipedia?
Yeah, like I've done reactions and like, this does not match what they say online. Let me fix that.
Nice. First person, real data. That was my next question was going to be, were you correcting things that they had wrong or were you adding things that they didn't know? Or both?
Usually I just correct things that are wrong. Haven't done a whole lot, to be honest, but
No,
I've contributed.
it's
I
good.
know I give them like $20 a year just for whenever they have that campaign to fundraise.
Oh, yeah. No, I always donate when they ask because Wikipedia is a treasure.
Yeah, they're asking about like how much video I ended up not using. I think my average video I have an hour, maybe 2 hours worth of footage, and that gets whittled down to average about 10 minutes. I've been doing longer videos lately, but like a lot of it is like I say the same thing over and over and over again, and then in post I like put my voice in that sounded the best.
Nice.
And sometimes like the one that I end up going with, I end up regretting it because like the video that I did on the planetary alignment that I was animating that.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the beginning I was talking about how that they look like they get close together, but they're actually, I said billions, but I meant millions. And I know in some of the previous takes I said millions. And I didn't catch it while I was editing, and like that one looked the best because the cat was behaving and
that's awesome. So yeah,
people are asking why I've been slow on videos lately, and a lot of that is YouTube really doesn't make me feel like I'm wanted, and it's so demotivating. And I've been trying to accelerate my production, but when I'm making a seventh of what other channels make per view, it's
now, to be clear for those watching, when he says that YouTube does not make him feel welcome, he is referring to YouTube, the company, not the viewers.
Oh, yeah.
I happen to know that you have a very loyal, I guess is the right word to say it, a very loyal fan base. I don't know how many times I saw in that last one, "We love you, Cody." I swear they're about to put that on T-shirts, man. Your viewers really appreciate what you do. So, oh yeah, well, I know a guy.
But like, one of my favorite videos, one of the ones that really took off in the beginning, I was making the gunpowder from urine, and which is one that many other channels have recreated and published without trouble. For some reason, YouTube decided to strike it down, remove it from the platform. I can test it. Human reviewer agrees with me. They put it back up. A week later, it gets struck down again. And at some point, I'm like, okay, I'll just leave it down. And that's just, it's so sad.
Yeah. Man, that is rough to put all that time and work into something. And that was way cool. I loved that one.
Yeah.
I think that might have been one of the first ones I actually watched of your videos. Was that one, because I was fascinated that you actually pulled that off. But
It's an ancient Chinese technique.
that's awesome. See, and again, I'm the history guy. I would love to hear all the history in that. But yeah, to put all that work into it and then have them just pull the rug out from under you. Man, that's frustrating. Now, at this point, most of your revenue isn't even from YouTube, is it?
No. Viewer donations have been really, like, they've surpassed YouTube, and that's gotten to the point where I've started disabling some of the ad types just to make it easier for people. So they're
Nice. That's mostly through Patreon, right?
Yeah.
So there you go, everybody. That was actually something I actually already knew that, which is why I brought it up. But that's one of the things that reminded me of last week when we were talking about Count Zeppelin, right? How essentially all these organizations which should have funded his research fell through, but it was the people supporting him that let him continue onward. And yeah, that was one of the things that reminded me of you. I knew that YouTube was kind of failing you, but yeah, the people support you. So yeah, that's got to make you feel good, right?
Yeah. I definitely, it's like, do I deserve this? I need to be producing more. And I'm definitely trying to ramp up production. I need to hire people to do things for me. Because at this point, I'm just the time constricted.
Yep. One man show. And I know there's also, you talk about you had 2 hours of video that you cut down to a 10-minute segment. Mm-hmm. But I happen to know it's not like those 2 hours of video were all of your setup time.
No.
Right? I know some of these things you've worked on. Minimum, these things would take days and days to build or set up or any of that sort of stuff.
Acquire ingredients.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shoot, I gotta go run to the store again.
Acquire ingredients or make ingredients. And so yeah, just the time constraints.
And I'm competing against people who have whole teams of people working for them. So I'm really getting out competed in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is a rather bizarre situation here because as far as YouTube is concerned, I'm a complete nobody, right? We have less than 10,000 subscribers on here.
You got some books and stuff. That's cool.
Oh yeah. To be clear, I'm not even being down on myself about that. It was never my intention. I'm an author. I write books. That is how I make my living. So my YouTube following is not really key to things. And yet, yeah, here we have a team, right? Jake and Will, say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. And,
they're over there wearing masks.
And yeah, I dare say I could not, well, not I dare say, I can say with absolute certainty, I could not do any of this without them. And for the exact reason you just said, it's time. I don't have the time to go back and edit video. I've tried to shoot little things for my fans or for schools that ask about stuff. I just can't even fit it into my schedule. So I cannot imagine even how you're doing as much as you do.
I actually got to where I quite like editing. It's kind of therapeutic sometimes. Just sit there and
Now
I've got the keyboard shortcuts memorized so well that I can just look at the screen and make cuts without even looking at the keyboard. I've gotten pretty good at it. I need to make a video sometime with the camera pointing at me while I'm editing.
I think people would love it, kind of some behind the scenes action. Now, I fear I may have led into this question, right? I may have colored it beforehand, but if you could just snap your fingers and either acquire or greatly improve a single skill, all of a sudden you could become really, really good at something, what would that be?
not procrastinating would be a good one. Probably.
Procrastinating.
Like, I feel like when I'm actually working, I get so much done, and most of the time I'm like, not.
Well, that's actually very telling. So you feel like you pretty much already have the skills and everything that you need. You just need to do it.
Yeah. Motivation issues. Being depressed really slows you down.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, depression can just... You just don't even... It doesn't even matter to get all these things done. But then you feel bad about what you didn't get done, which makes you more depressed, and you end up with that tight little, downward spiral.
And one of the things I'm doing to pull myself out of it is do things like this, where I hang out with people and be more social. So
there you go.
I think it's helping.
Yeah, cheap therapy if nothing else. Now for me, it's pretty easy because I've got, frankly, my wife. Are you seeing anybody?
Not currently. I'm still single.
Now
it's weird. Like the dating apps. Like I thought I would be like fighting them off with a stick, but apparently, I think what's happening is they like look me up, and as soon as they find out I'm a YouTuber, they're like, nope.
Well, I'll admit, because I have thought about this, and it's a very specific sort of woman, because on the one hand, she'd have to be able to handle the fame, right? There is that. But on the other hand, you don't actually live like that. Your day-to-day is not the life of a rich and famous person.
No, I'm staying in a camper in the middle of Nevada a lot of the time. So.
Yeah, it would have to be someone who could handle the duality that is your life.
Yeah. I definitely, like, this COVID lockdown, I don't think I would have survived it without Bud Cat. The story with him is he was actually my sister's cat that lived at the ranch, and I guess like he started following me around the yard, and we made friends. And the day before we went into real heavy lockdown, like actually about a year ago, I was visiting my parents, and I knew I was gonna, not visit them again for a while. And as I was leaving, the cat jumped in the truck, and I'm like, you know what? I guess you're coming with me. You'll be my COVID buddy.
So, Cody, follow-up question to that. Does your sister know that you stole her cat?
Yes. I told her that. I actually texted her and was like, hey, I'm stealing your cat. And she's like, okay, I guess. I mean, it was kittens. She had like 3 or 4 of them.
So she had extras.
Yeah.
But you just needed the one. Nice. That is awesome. I don't currently have any pets. I have children, which is,
Pets that slowly learn how to talk.
It's pretty much the same thing. Same to same. I know that is one of my goals, is to end up in a position where I can once again have land and animals and all those sort of things, because that's how I grew up. So that is definitely like almost one of my definitions of success. Like, I will know that I am successful when I have a Frisian and a field to ride them through.
Okay.
Frisian is a specific breed of horse, by the way. They're jet black. They have this arching noble neck, and they are just beautiful. They originally bred as a little bit stock horses, but mostly war horses for knights. And they are just magnificent.
Have a suit of armor on.
Now, yeah, absolutely. Armor, a hawk that lands on my wrist when I stop. That is my dream. I'm actively going for that.
That sounds great.
Okay. I just want to...
Do you like the movie Lady Hawk?
I I want to be Navarre off Lady Hawk. I don't know if any of the people watching have ever seen the movie Lady Hawk. I had to look far and wide to get a DVD of that movie. Rutger Hauer, Matthew Broderick, Michelle Pfeiffer. It is a masterpiece, and he rides a Frisian like a boss. And the Frisian's name is Goliath. And
that's a good name for a horse.
Oh, man. What I meant to lead that to before I ended up with this extreme Lady Hawk nostalgia. Thanks for that derail. What does success look like for you? Right? So, like, when you've made it, right? Like, your line in the sand, I have done it. What does that look like for Cody?
Say probably when I never have to work a normal job again. That'd be great. And just, do my own experiments forever.
So just off on your own, doing little experiments, and that's your living?
That would be fantastic.
Now, Cody, how different is that than what you are doing right now?
No difference, but right now I have...
It sounds a lot like what you're doing.
But right now I have it looming over me that, like, if YouTube and stuff crashes right now, I will eventually have to get another job, right? I don't have enough money and resources saved up to pull it off right now. Maybe in a couple more years, if I can just hold out a little bit longer.
So you essentially, I understand that you're not necessarily retired at 30.
No. But that would be cool.
That would be cool. I'm afraid I'm about 10 years too late to retire at 30 and not looking likely anytime soon. But at the same time, I really love what I do. So I don't think I actually care about retiring. But I do know what you're talking about as far as having the financial side of retirement where you don't have to work. You can just do what you want to do.
And like, people have pointed out that if I would have taken all of the sponsorships and played the YouTube system more like other channels have, that I'd be a millionaire now, but I'm not.
What kept you from that? Was it just too annoying, or didn't want to, sell out or whatever?
Well, like I did a couple of sponsorships and I never got paid, and I guess got burned for it, and I decided that I didn't really want to deal with that. So
okay. Do you think that's something you might do in the future? Like maybe if you went with the whole like team assault sort of thing, we had someone else to deal with that.
Maybe
that headache.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. All possibilities down the road.
I need to get onto more platforms. Like I want to get like the TikTok channel and stuff. Whatever
nice.
That's called. I've got a few short videos I've filmed. I just don't know how to put them on TikTok yet.
I haven't even looked into it. I can offer zero advice on that. Just
have I tried streaming? Currently my internet just can't handle it, but I'd love to get a Starlink and start streaming. That'd be amazing.
I was about to say, you've tried it twice now here with us.
Yeah, but you guys have internet.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to stream with internet.
Could I afford to get internet? Probably. I'm gonna get a Starlink as soon as I can, and that's like $100 a month or whatever.
So
I just haven't been wanting to deal with the local internet services.
Let me take this one step farther, though. Let's say you have enough money to retire, essentially, where you don't need to work.
Right.
And then you just continue to do your experiments and build your things. But let's take it farther than that. Let's say you are suddenly ridiculously wealthy, right? Forget millions. Now we're moving into the capital B. You got billions. What would change for you? What would you do differently, if anything?
Well, I'd probably do a lot like what Elon Musk is doing, actually. Like, I'm like looking at him like, I want to be doing what you're doing, but I just can't.
Oh, dude.
I want to build rockets.
Cody as Elon Musk Part 2. I am in. I am so in. He should hold a contest to determine his successor.
Like, I have a few ideas for different things, but like going out, mining asteroids, and moving that B to a T.
Oh,
Building a
yeah.
trillion.
Well, when your space empire begins, and you look down from above on me riding through the field on my Frisian,
Drop a few rocks and give you a meteor shower.
Can
you
dude.
imagine, like, you have like a big bag of rubble, maybe slag from the asteroid mining process, and you send it in, blow it up just before it hits the atmosphere, and just have an enormous meteor shower, like maybe like for the 4th of July or whatever.
No. That's as I gallop across, grab the hawk, the horse rears up, pawing the air, and behind me, the meteor shower. Brought to you by Cody. I would
film that, or somebody film that, and
I would probably have to die at that point, because nothing I would do would ever match that moment. Oh, man. Well, that was amazing. We are coming down towards the end of our time. We only do this for about an hour on Tell Me a Story. I will say you are welcome back here anytime. Anytime at all. It's great having you here. Next week, for those of you who are watching, Mike will be back, and we will be talking about mad scientists. I'm just kidding. Mostly ones from history, but you know, if you're not here, we might talk behind your back. But like I said, you're welcome anytime.
I mean, I've got to go work on my own videos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyways,
They want a Nile Red collab.
I was saying, anything you'd like to address to the fans, things they've been asking, or just things that you wanted to say?
I've been trying to get Nile in for a podcast myself, but I mean, we live in different countries. It's kind of a...
Oh, well, where's Nile Red from?
Up in Canada.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
There we go. We'll work on it. I'm half Canadian. Yeah, my mother's Canadian, so, you know, maybe we can leverage that. Be the crossover.
Yeah, people say, like, Nile Red is a cleaner, more professional version of me.
See, and I see that, right? I know what they're talking about, but one of the things that drew me to your channel was it was raw. Right? It was starting with here's some dirt and some sticks, science magic, here's a hammer or whatever. Right? Like, that is what I loved about it. In fact, that's always been my problem with chemistry textbooks, is they start with everything already done. Like, well, you take your 100% sodium hydroxide and you mix that with your pure lipids. I'm like, how did you get that though? Yeah, exactly. Right? What tree do I burn to get this? And like, I always wanted, like, from caveman forward. I actually found a book called Caveman Chemistry.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
You'd probably like How to Make Everything then.
How to Make Everything. That's a YouTube channel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen some of that.
I've worked with them before. They're pretty cool. They got more fancy equipment and stuff. They've put their skill points into different things than I have.
Hey, we all got to make choices.
People have asked about the methane generator. Apparently that was more popular than I thought.
I want to see more of the methane generator. That was one that I wanted to see more of.
Apparently the bacteria cultures are very tricky and What ended up happening to it is it froze because it got too cold. The flame went out of the thing I was using to heat it, and I just haven't started it up again. It's coming into spring now. Maybe I'll try something else. I've been kind of more interested in the gasification, though. As the methane, that's just, you have to nurture the bacteria and
It's almost like
keep 'em
gardening.
warm. Yeah, exactly.
Or
I mean, it does
keeping
make
fish.
fertilizer. It does make better fertilizer. But the gasification is just so simple, and you make about the same stuff.
Explain what you mean by gasification.
Partial combustion or anaerobic, just heating to drive off the volatile, the flammable gases.
Heating what?
Anything organic. There's a place out in Erda that I would like to go visit, where they actually take the chicken manure and they heat it up and they like partially combust it and produce the hydrogen and carbon monoxide and they get power off of it. It's kind of cool.
Okay, future cities run off of chicken poop. I'm just kidding. It probably won't go quite to that level. But Cody, thank you so much for being here.
All right.
Next week, like I said, we'll be back here and we'll be talking about mad scientists. Well, Cody won't be here unless you'd like I said, doors open. But Mike will be back. We'll be talking about mad scientists. The week after, we're actually going to be trying something a little bit new. That is normally when we would do Ask Lance, where it's just me. We've decided to try something where we're going to make like an author's corner. We're going to be interviewing another author like myself and make it a little bit more literary. The week after that, by the way, it won't be on Thursday because, well, my daughter made it into the district spelling bee championship. So I will be there that Thursday, so we're going to hold that on Wednesday. We'll also remind you of that in coming weeks. As always, please remember to like and comment, but most of all, subscribe. And, of course, support Cody through Patreon and YouTube subscriptions, anything we can do to help. Big fan of his work and want to see that move forward as much as possible.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming, Cody.
This was fun.
It was great.
It's good to get
It was a good time.